You know, man, when Mel Gibson walked into the studio and started talking about Hajj, I honestly didn't expect it to hit me the way it did. I mean, think about it. I've had everyone on this podcast: scientists, monks, atheists, fighters, preachers, you name it. People from every corner of life. But me, L? When he started describing Hajj, the SPI, the NBR, the rituals, it shook me in this weird, almost primal way. The way he described millions of people walking together, dressed in the same simple garments, all moving in unity, man, that image stayed with me. You could be a billionaire, a janitor, a king, or a farmer, it doesn't matter. When you step onto that ground, every social ladder, every title, every ego, gone. And Mel, he wasn't just talking about the clothes or the motion. He was talking about the message behind it. The reminder of equality, humility, human connection. That, my friend, is powerful. And honestly, it's something we've completely lost in modern society. We live in a world obsessed with identity, obsessed with who is richer, who's more influential, who got the biggest following. Every day the world screams at us to build an image, defend a reputation, chas and bars and status. But in Hajj, Mel said, all of that evaporates. People strip down literally to two simple white garments, leaving behind ego, pride, any trace of social hierarchy. I thought, damn, that's a lesson the world desperately needs right now. Mel spoke about Hajj like it had touched something anti-Barson and in him, something deep, primal. He described it as a direct connection to God, a connection that goes beyond religion, beyond tradition. He said, Joe, when you see people walking under that blazing sun, circling the Kaaba, giving themselves fully to something higher, it makes you question every orphan you've been chasing in your life. And man, that hit me. Because I've always talked about discipline, MMA, hunting, pushing limits in the gym, but this was different. This was spiritual endurance. Hajj, he said, isn't about showing off how religious you are. It's about breaking yourself, barchin, own until you are nothing but a human being standing before your creator. And let's be real, most of us spend our whole lives building ourselves up, feeding the ego, craving attention, admiration, validation. But there, in the desert, you realize none of that matters. The sand doesn't care who you abhor or sunri. The sun doesn't respect your wealth or your fame. And in that raw, humbling space, you confront yourself. Mel told me about the circling of the Kaaba, the tawaf, the 7 times around. He said it felt like a metaphor for life itself, constant motion, orbiting a central truth, everything revolving, bit on a G around a force you can see. And I thought, wow, that's exactly how life works. We were all spinning in our little orbits, but everything eventually revolves around something bigger, something unseen, something eternal. That as the essence of surrender, the essence of flow. And then he described He harmonied the millions of pilgrims moving together, not in chaos, but in perfect synchronicity. It's humbling. It's almost hypnotic. One heartbeat, one intention. And Mel said, Joe, for the first time I understood what true humility means. And man, you could feel it in his voice. He'd been through Hollywood madness scandals, criticism, fame, but this was something else, something quiet, something eternal. He talked about facing the most terrifying questions, the ones we normally run from. Why am I here? What's my purpose? What happens when I die? And in Hajj, people face those questions, illingly. They surrender. Here I am, God. I am ready. That spiritual courage, confronting your own soul without flinching. I remember Mel laughing when I called it a soul detox, but he agreed. There's no faking humility at Hajj. You either surrender or you don tea. You can fake growth, honesty, or confrontation with yourself. And that's why Hajj isn't just a ritual. It's a mirror to your sins, your heart, your soul. Mel describes standing on the plains of Arafat, surrounded by millions of people, crying, praying, asking for forgiveness. That's when you feel the weight of your huma under barniti. And man, how often do we stop to feel that weight in our everyday lives? We distract ourselves, Netflix, Instagram, politics, noise. But standing there, in silence, stripped down, there's nowhere to hide. Only presence, only you, your prayers, your sweat, your thoughts, and the desert wind. Raw enshi bar sen, primal spirituality. And Mel said it changed him forever. Material things, fame, arguments, drama, they didn't matter anymore. His soul had been reset. Imagine if everyone felt that the world would be completely different. He told me about the moment where everything stops. The sun is burning, the air thick, yet your heart feels lighter than ever. Every wrong thing you've done flashes before you, and suddenly you just want to let it go. That's wild, man. Most of us drag guilt around like luggage, but Hajj, it's a collective exhale. It's the soul finally breathing after a lifetime of holding it in. Mel said humans are made for rituals, for moments that connect us to something bigger. But in today's world, we've replaced rituals with routines, scrolling, working, consuming, repeating, screens instead of symbols, algorithms instead of God. No wonder everyone feels so empty. And he said the hardest part of Hajj isn't the walking or the sun. It is the emotional stripping. You think you were strong, but suddenly you were crying for forgiveness for things you didn't even realize you carried. That, he said, is real strength, the courage to break down, to admit you need healing. That's the power of Hajj. That's the kind of courage we all need. He told me something that stuck. God doesn't care about your resume. He cares about your heart. That's heavy, man. In Hollywood, everything is image, followers, reputation. But in the desert, none of that survives. Sand and sun humble everyone the same. E-way. And when Mel came back, you could see it. There was calm in him, a grounding he hadn't had before. He found an anchor, something most of us are missing, drifting from dopamine hit to hit, chasing a void that can be filled with stuff. He shared stories of pilgrims helping each other, sharing and Mashiarji water, food, support even when exhausted. That is love in its purest form, man. No cameras, no agenda. Just humanity, that sense of unity, of community, is what we've lost in modern society. Hajj embodies it perfectly. Millions moving as one intention, one rhythm. Mel told me about an old man who saved for 30 years just to make the trip. 30 years, and when he finally arrived barefoot with no proper shoes, he smiled like the richest man alive. That smile, man, taught Mel more than any Hollywood success ever could. Real wealth is in your heart, not your bank account. And then he said something that gave me chills. In Hajj, there are no strangers. Millions of people praying together, and you see only souls. No race, no language, no nationality. That is unity. That is peace humanity has been starving for. And that, I think, is the lesson of Hajj. It's not just worship. It's Rem and Sebar Shan embodying who we really are, stripping away the noise, the pride, the addictions, the illusions, recognizing we all travelers moving toward the same end. He spoke about death, too, not as something to fear, but something to prepare for. Every step of Hajj is a step towards surrender. That's freedom and titiborts and man. You live with purpose, with humility, with awareness. You realize God doesn't need you. You need him. That truth breaks the illusion of control. And once it's gone, all that's left is truth. And truth? That's freedom. He said Hajj is ego death on a global scale. Millions letting go simultaneo and taniarjan usli. That's not just religion. That S energy. That S cosmic. I told him it sounded like the biggest psychedelic trip ever. Except, he said, no drugs needed. Just faith. And that's what hit me hardest. Real awakening doesn't come from stimulation. It comes from surrender. That's what Mel discovered. That's what we all need to rediscover. And then he went deeper. He talked about the lessons you carry back with you. Mel said the humility, the perspective, the clarity it stays. Money, fame, envy, grudges, they lose their grip. You see life differently. You see people differently. You see yourself differently. And it's permanent. That's not a vacation. That's not sightseeing. That's transformation. He described moments where pilgrims wept together, strangers consoling strangers, sharing water, shade, encouragement. That, he said, is love in its purest form. A love that transcends borders, kol, adbar, chur, ego. And it reminded all of us why humans need each other, why community matters. Because for a fleeting week, millions move as one body, one heartbeat. That S unity, that S harmony. That's what we've lost in our fractured digital world. He told me about the symbolism of the Klat in Bar Chenting the Iram. No rich fabric, no fancy accessories, just two simple white garments, all stripped down, all equal. That simplicity, that equality, man, it hit me. It's a visual, living metaphor of what life should be about. Humility, unity, surrender, not status, not ego, not wealth, just being. And it B-R-S-N-D. He didn't stop there. He talked about the standing at Arafat, the moment where everyone feels the weight of their humanity, a moment where millions pray, cry, confront their sins, and their hearts break open. That, Mel said, is the most profound human experience you can ever have. A mirror to your soul, showing you who you really are. And man, think about it. We go our whole lives running from that confrontation, numbing ourselves with noise, distraction, addiction. But there, it's unavoidable. And it's liberating. He described the final days, the moments of returning home, carrying a new perspective. He said, everything is lighter. Every resentment, every guilt, every ego-driven pursuit it doesn't weigh you down anymore. You were free, Joe, truly free. And that's the loop, man. That's the closing circle. You go, you strip away, you confront, you surrender, and you return, not just to the world, but to yourself.